Are we taking a break? Does anyone know?
Yeah, 5 minutes, Natalie. Just, we have to get staff in and things like that.
Okay, I'm gonna go grab some water. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, my Wi-Fi dropped off at the end of that last meeting before I could record my vote.
No problem. We figured it was just happy hour.
No, no, it literally just dropped and I couldn't reconnect. So
That's too bad. That's okay. You were just an absent voter and it didn't, no big deal.
Still in my meeting associate.
oh, Cheryl, could you record the vote?
I don't think procedurally she can. Too late.
At the time that,
So
but it's still passed.
it passed. There's nothing. It's
Oh, that'll be.
from a procedural standpoint, I don't know, but I guess it's something to check.
Just bad timing for Wi-Fi to drop.
Probably had to drop another quarter in, right?
Probably. Kind of weird because the Wi-Fi actually is good at this resort, so it's kind of weird.
I was gonna say it happens, Mike. You never know when the gremlin will pop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. When you least expect it, when OS is when it happens.
Yeah. Oh, well. I knew we had to go through it that way, but it's, you know, when you have to go through a policy and sort of wordsmith on the rise.
Wes, and you guys are live when you're talking, so just heads up.
Yeah, okay. Is it actually being broadcast?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, there you go.
So Ken, maybe you can clarify for me, when did we have to get comments in? Right?
So count, agenda planning, we'll have to figure out when this comes back. It's probably not gonna be in March. David? Naming policy would probably be April, committee of the whole. I'm not gonna, March would be a bit short.
March would be not enough.
Yeah, so April,
May, June. You take this.
I would suggest you get your comments in the next 2 weeks, maybe? That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just wondered if if that date was set, but I didn't hear it and I apologize. My Wi-Fi did just drop right before the vote. So
That's all good.
It's fine.
We marked you as absent, but I know where you were going.
He came back. You'll be here for this one. It'll be fine. Mic is on now. I can
Yep.
see it.
Yep.
Yep. I would have called it out on that. Okay. Correct. This is a day I'm glad we started at 9:30.
All right.
No.
All right. Is everybody here now? Yeah. Call the special council meeting of February 14th to order. Attendance is the same as it was this morning. Everyone's here. You're online. Councilor McKay, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, sure. For that February 14th, 2023 special city council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
All right, call for the vote. All right. I'm seeing hands. That's carried unanimously? No, I haven't. Yeah, they all. I'm a bit sloppy now. We've got quick three things. Q4 report, council. Mr. Fletcher.
You want a promotion and a pay cut at the same time?
You can't have a street named after you, but.
Go ahead.
All right, bear with me. I will try and share my screen.
We're just beginning shortly here. Do we have to wait, Sean, for that?
Oh, as soon as you start to share, that'll disappear.
Okay.
And I'll stop it. It's not showing on that. I apologize. Can you help me? Yeah. PowerPoint's not showing up here when I go. Well. Yeah.
You don't want to put the sweater back on, Mike?
I should be able
Sweater back on? No.
I'm.
The air conditioning in this place will freeze you. It's like a meat locker.
I just didn't want to see the Speedo.
No, no.
All right, my sincere apologies, council.
All good.
All right, good afternoon. I'll run through very quickly a quick presentation on the Q4 2022 corporate quarterly report. This report is produced, as you know, 4 times a year, hence the name, to formally communicate progress made to advance your strategic priorities and related projects and financial position of the city for the quarter. I'll first provide a very quick update on the progress of advancing your strategic plan initiatives, and then talk a little bit about the financial overview for the quarter. It's important to note, especially for those online, that the progress outlined is as of December 31st, 2022. And while work has continued on many of these projects into this year, it's not reflected in the report. See. Your strategic plan outlines the what, and you take a very long-term or advance a long-term perspective of review. Council will take to advance during your term key outcomes and related strategies that are planned to be advanced through specific projects, which we would describe as the how. Your business priorities will be advanced, outlined in the corporate business plan. Strategic plan and corporate business plan focus on change over time that council would like to make. Therefore, the day-to-day service delivery, as per your approved services and service levels, is not included in the quarterly update. There are 44 initiatives planned to advance your identified priorities, and they are broken down generally, as you'll see below, and I'll walk through them very quickly. To date, 3 completed, 25 on track. You can read the numbers as well as I can. I think over the next couple of slides, I'll provide an overview of each of the priorities and as they relate to the stoplight chart that you see ahead. This priority area consists of 2 strategies as we look at economic priority. The first, strategy 1, consists of 3 key projects to advance it. Regional and sub-regional economic development is progressing as per plan. St. Albert West has experienced a slight delay, and in point of fact, you saw the ASP this morning. However, we're anticipating its completion by the end of 2023. And that is, you saw the stoplight chart this morning. There will be some current work on the neighborhood plans that will then delve into Lakeview Business District servicing, which we're hopeful will begin this year with the design and then look at next year into breaking ground. Strategy 2 consists of 5 projects. An update of the annex land and the city's technical plans studies is ongoing. Green Tape 2.0 investment attraction strategy and infill strategy are progressing as planned. In point of fact, I'll just note very quickly the Green Tape 2 final report is delayed slightly due to the overall workload related to development permits, but expect to be completed by the end of this year. This area consists of 3 strategies. DARP, update, the prioritization, and downtown stakeholder coordination are advancing as planned. As you know, a motion or a notice of motion rather was submitted by council's consideration on 7th February for planning a Millennium Park development. Should this motion actually ultimately administration will adjust our current plans for the project according to the motions. This area consists of 3 strategies. The first strategy will see advanced mixed market housing and enhanced housing options that are both progressing Plans.
Must have Siri on your mind here.
Feasibility study for youth transitional housing starts this year. For strategy 2, community amenities needs assessment and concept planning is progressing as planned and has begun. Ownership of community amenity lands concluded with Q4 with the land transfer agreement signed with Rohit and the official announcement that occurred just last week. Strategy 3, Indigenous reconciliation experienced a delay due to the consultant not being available for additional work. We are researching alternatives and will present finding not funding to council before the end of Q2 2023 on the way ahead of that. And specifically, we're talking about the advisory capacity that was on our report. Municipal naming project, you've just been through, so I won't speak to that, but it is progressing as planned. Strategy 4, adapting to a natural changing environment, consists of 2 broad strategies. The planned initiatives for both these strategies are progressing as planned. With one keynote, which is the resilient infrastructure strategy that's scheduled to begin in 2024. Financial stability. This priority consists of 3 strategies. For the first, intermunicipal partnership project has experienced delays due to the EMTSC, the Edmonton Metropolitan Transit Services Commission, and the related decisions. At the start of 2023, the board made the decision to dissolve the commission. And the focus moving forward will be on the intermunicipal planning framework, which may identify potential future projects between Edmonton and St. Albert. Strategic alliance and merger opportunities and long-term debt strategy are both progressing as planned with nothing significant to report. Revenue generating infrastructure opportunities project is completed with the final decision specific to the solar farm. Having said that, that initiative, as we look at exploring alternate revenue opportunities, while not a specific project now in the corporate business plan, is a core business item that we will pursue across the spectrum. Strategy 2, the strategy consists of 16 projects that advance opportunities identified in the operational and fiscal review and audits. They've been completed related to efficiencies and are looking for different ways to deliver and optimize the delivery of our services. The Art and Theatre review was delayed last quarter with the addition of a second phase, which will include the examining of the theatre operating model. This work will start in Q3 of this year due to some capacity restraints. The 9/11 dispatch delivery model review project is completed with your direction to initiate implementation of the approved recommendation. The implementation project is on track with the RFP out and results starting to flow in, or bids starting to flow in. Standardizing capital project and contract management procedures, as well as the exploring centralized assets management, are both progressing as planned. And lastly, the enhancement of our online access to city services is scheduled to begin this year, but is subject to budget approval. Continuing with strategy 2, modernizing our budget. So the multi-year budgeting initiative, enhancing records and information management practice, the procurement audit implementation phase 1, and the internal audit committee practices and processes are all progressing as planned. Customer relationship management direction and extending online options for building and development application processes were both stopped. They're not disappearing, but they've been stopped for now due to the budget requests not being approved through the 2023 budget deliberations. Customer relationship management implementation is planned after the customer relationship management direction project is completed, which, as I just mentioned, is currently on hold. Finally, shared services for public participation in procurement phase 2 are planned to start in 2023 and procurement audit implementation phase 3 in 2024. Strategy 3, which is specific to advancing integrated risk management framework. This experienced a delay last quarter due to this project's alignment with the work plan for the internal audit committee practice and processes. And this will ensure proper alignment now that things are progressing and the most efficient approach to avoid duplication of work. I guess I probably should add that the risk registry that was planned as part of this project has now been developed as part of the IAC internal audit contract, which is good news. That concludes the specific briefing on the project and implementation update. And now I'll present our financial summary for quarter.
We stop and take questions.
We absolutely can. Yep.
Any questions on projects before we get into financials? You have some?
I have some.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you just mentioned about the 2 projects that were stopped in financial services, the customer relationship budget management direction, and I don't remember seeing those in the budget. So did we take them out, or were they just not brought forward? Or I'm just trying, maybe it happened and I'm forgetting something. But when did, because it just says it was not approved in the budget, but I don't remember having them removed.
The extended budget, and maybe I'll ask finance and
Yeah.
strategic services to comment on specifically on those. Anne, are you on? Daria, go ahead. You can start.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were prioritizing projects based on a proposed budget that we were directed to bring forward to council, and those two initiatives just didn't make the cut. So the other business cases that were brought forward were deemed priority for leadership team and executive leadership at the time.
So I owe you an apology. This was not a deliberate decision by council not to fund these two initiatives. This was an administrative prioritization issue. They didn't come forward.
Was this a capital project, or is it a one-time funding project area, or was it a ongoing?
I'm trying to think. I think that one may be a capital, the implementation one, if we get to that point, but the initial scoping and doing initial planning for it, so basically to develop our strategy so that we know what system we need, was operating.
Is it, I don't know if you want this as an information request, but can we just see a copy of those two business cases? Just have them sent to us, because
Absolutely. I think both of these, I see Joanne is on. I think both of these business cases are by and large ones and zeros. So they are significantly IT heavy, but obviously with the
yeah, whatever we normally would get, just like the costs and what you're planning to do, because we have quite a bit in the stabilization fund. So if we see it, we haven't had a chance to evaluate whether or not we would move them forward center. So if that's possible, that would be awesome. Okay, I think, hold on. That could be it for this, because I went through this page by page. Yeah, that's it for now. I have more later. Don't worry.
In the financials.
In financials. Thank you.
Questions? Questions? All right, I see no more questions. Going to the financials.
As of the end of December of 2022, see the numbers on the screen, but we had $179.9 million in operating revenue recognized, which is 97% of what we budgeted. 177.6 billion was spent in 2022, which is 6% rather of what was budgeted. And this results in a $2.3 million surplus, mainly due to the facility closure at Fountain Park and the attendance savings there, and also an increase in development of permit fees, ambulance billing, 911 grants, and transit revenue. So essentially, an increase in revenue led to the surplus based on our initial progressions, with a net $2.3 million surplus as noted. This chart identifies the progress status of all our municipal capital projects. In total, 97% of the 124 projects are currently in progress or complete, with 44 projects to be closed out. Updates on specific capital projects are communicated through the city website throughout the year, and obviously as requested by council. Moving on to utility operational highlights. For the utilities budget, as of the end of December 2022, the city recognized $43.7 million in revenue and $32.6 million in expenses in the utilities budget. The revenue was $1.4 million lower than budget due to lower than expected wastewater service and water charges, which is good news. The expense is $1.7 million lower than budget due to new recycling contract at lower rates, lower contracted services used, and a lower waste management treatment charges as a result of lower water usage than expected. So again, notwithstanding the surplus, these are good trends ultimately in terms of our water usage. This has resulted in a $0.3 million higher than budgeted transfer to reserves. This chart identifies the progress of the capital projects related to utilities, and a total 85% of the 55 projects in progress, and 9 are to be closed out. The city website, again, provides updates on specific utility capital projects throughout the year. Summary for the 2022, the city realized a surplus of $2.3 million. Strong investments, reserve funding, and low debt, the city continues to maintain a strong financial position while maintaining a high level of services to residents and advancing strategic priorities identified in the council's strategic plan. Subject to your discussion and questions, we have a recommended motion on the screen for due consideration, and that concludes my presentation. Ending your questions. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just curious about when you, in the very beginning, it says we have the surplus. This is due to increased revenue from a bunch of things, but one of them was ambulance billing. Is that because we were taking on the shifts to go into Edmonton on Saturday nights and stuff like that. Okay.
Correct.
And 911 grants, what is that?
Mhm. It's on it.
Yeah, I will defer to
Robert.
Everett Cook online to talk specifically about the 911 grants. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of council. The 911 grants is funding received for both our primary PSAP and our secondary or backup PSAP, which is located at the fire hall. These are grants that come from the provincial government for operating those services, as well as providing opportunity for our secondary to back up our primary, and also to be part of the, call it the bigger network, if you will, of 911 centers throughout the province. Those funds are directly related to those grant dollars that we receive from the province.
So Everett, why were they unexpected? Why were they not budgeted for? Was it a new grant or is it based on volume or?
Excellent question, Madam Chair. I can get back to you with a firm details on that, but I believe there was an increase we realized in 2022 on grant dollars from the province of Alberta. I can get back to council on that exact with the answer for you though in the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I was just curious. And lastly, it says we have increased revenue from transit. Does that mean transit ridership is improving?
It means it's improving, yes, over what we'd originally budgeted as a forecast. I don't believe, I will defer to the public operations, but we're still not at pre-pandemic levels.
It was online.
But we're seeing positive movement.
Yeah.
That's good. Councillor Hughes.
Okay, a couple of questions. I'll go to page 22. On the pool, it says the expenses are 767 less than expected, revenue 773 less than expected. So it still looks like the pool just like we got less expenses, we also got less revenue, so it's kind of like a break even. So I'm just wondering why because normally the subsidy in the pool is like 1.6 million, and I realize we still have some staff that we have to pay, but it still seems higher. And I know we talked about the pool before, and I just forgot what the answer was to this as to why. Because what it looks like is we didn't actually save a bunch of money from the pool. It looks like we just broke.
Looks like it came out in the wash.
Right, that's what it looks like, is that.
And
And we normally have a subsidy for the pool.
Danielle?
Through the chair to Councillor Hughes. So there is normally a subsidy to the pool. Those don't totally represent all the pieces because we don't budget for Fountain Park completely independently. So it's not got all the puts and takes. We still had maintenance to run on that, utilities to run on that facility, as well as some staffing that we've got permanent staffing that are deployed to other tasks within the department at this time. So there is some cost savings within the department. And as well, we upped our swimming lessons within Service Place. So there was some accounting, I guess, where we had additional programs running as well.
Okay, so we actually still didn't, but we didn't save money off the pool, or is it just not showing in the accounting of this one area?
I think it's not totally reflective, and I would ask Stan Chan, but maybe he can add some more to it. But we have some other reflections that do show a cost savings of about 250,000 within our kind of records. But there's puts and takes to other pieces that aren't necessarily completely attributed to that cost center for Fountain Park, because we don't budget for it independent. We budget it as part of the department budget.
Okay, that's good enough.
Okay.
Relating to the grants for the 911, Everett, so this money's new, I get that. And so are we expecting that same level of grants for 2023, or is it just a one-time thing?
We're expecting for, as long as we're operating both a primary and a secondary dispatch center, we are expecting a similar amount for grant dollars. We need to keep in mind, though, that if we do move forward with contracting out the secondary or the fire dispatch center, we will not be seeing the dollars related to having a secondary dispatch center received by the city anymore from the province. We will lose those dollars, yes.
Okay, so is there I'm not sure if you have it or not, but has the budget been amended for 2023 to reflect the fact that we have these increased grants? Because when we make up the budget, it might have been prior to this awareness.
We did, when we went through the budget process for 2023, we did put put amounts in for these grant dollars into the 2023 year, assuming that we would have the grant dollars received by the end of Q2, I believe it is, for the 2023 operating year.
Okay, thank you. And then for the transit revenue, it's the same question. So we have a projection for transit. I'm expecting, like, in some ways, transit's fairly consistent. So when people come back on, they're fairly consistent. So in the budget for 2023, is our expected revenue reflective of what we've now received in 2022, or is it much more pessimistic than that right now?
Those should be online.
Will, I think is Will online. He can answer that specifically, but I think we were not overly pessimistic.
No, we're realistic.
It was like basically what we have now is basically what we had at the end of this year type of thing, or last year?
No,
Go ahead, Will.
an increase was predicted again for 2023. But we're still not completely confident that it will return to pre-pandemic levels in 2023.
Okay, are you confident that it is at the number you're estimating for 2023? Is it the same as what you realized for 2022? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, no, 2022 had a pretty significant uptake.
Yeah.
We're predicting that uptake won't be as high an increase over the previous year, but we're still expecting it to be a significant increase.
So we're planning on an increase yet above 2022, but not a major.
But not at the same level as 2022's increase. That was pretty high.
So I'm not asking what the increase, I guess I'm just asking the total number. So if you're estimating $1 million in revenue in 2022, are you estimating that same amount in 2023, or you're estimating slightly higher than that? Or
We're
so slightly higher than 2022 for 2023, right?
Correct.
We're estimating. Okay, got it. Perfect. And then page 23, for the planning engineering, it says that the permits were higher than anticipated development. I guess my question I had was, is this higher than average or higher than anticipated? So I'm wondering, is it a trend, or do you think again it was a blip?
Adrian?
Yeah, so I'm working on the year-end report, and right now, and council should have that fairly soon. I would say that it was higher than we anticipated, based on kind of our previous conversations with developers and things like that. The general trend is that it has been increasing over time. We're a little bit down from last year in some numbers and a little bit higher in some numbers. So we had a few $100,000 of increased revenue this year. I don't anticipate that necessarily next year based on residential development based on conversations from developers, but we are aware of a number of larger non-residential or kind of mixed projects which could offset the decrease in single family residential in particular.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And on page, did we get to 24? Yeah, on the, okay, where I'm 24. So the franchise fees, it says it's higher than expected as well. So was that just because there was higher usage than we expected, and have we accounted for that in 2023?
In the budget.
In the budget.
And I can speak to that. It was based on the consumption and the growth, mainly due to that. At the first part so that additional from quarter 2 to quarter 3 was due to the growth. And we have factored that into the 23 budget.
So, because when we discussed the budget, we were in quarter 4. So it was, I guess I'm wondering, like, was it done before? Because you present the budget in October, so you wouldn't have necessarily had that growth information. So I guess I'm just asking, is an intention to come forward in April, the adjustment, or did it somehow happen and I didn't see it while it was happening in budget?
The additional part of the growth was about 450,000. So when we get the new delivery rates from the providers, we'll look at the new fees. And if there is a significant difference, we will bring that as part of the budget adjustments. But right now we'll review that. And if there is a significant difference, we'll bring that forward.
Okay, I'm going to ask you when we bring forward the budget adjustments where we're at, just as a heads up. So that way in May, like, tell me where we're at, okay? Just so that we know. And then apparently our water usage is down. Do we know why? I realize that in some ways it's a good news story. I mean, as far as the revenue comes, it actually is not higher revenue. So is it because people went back to work and they're now flushing all their toilets in Edmonton, or?
I'll ask Regan to comment on that, or maybe Fountain Park Pool is empty. I don't know.
I'll jump in on that. So we suspect it has a lot to do with the weather, right? I don't know if you remember 2021 was a very dry year. We actually had drought conditions in 2021. We carried forward those similar projections for water usage into 2022. And obviously 2022 was a very different year. It was a very wet year. June, we had a lot of rain in particular, and that's usually a month where we get a lot of outdoor water usage. So as much as we like to encourage water conservation, it does affect us on the budget side of things. And then we have to allow for, some years where we'll be to the good and some years where we won't be. And 2022 is one of those years where we're not to the good. So
This has happened with the rain guards. So the utility water monitoring on page 27, it says that it was decreased the amount of utility water monitoring. So is it because we're doing it in-house, or there was circumstances where we don't need to do it anymore? Or why did we stop monitoring the water, and what water were we monitoring? Assuming it wasn't my house.
sorry, can we jump to that page? I'm not sure what that's referring to.
Let me just find it here. So I don't put Dolan number, it is under there. Storm. Yeah, so the very end of expenses under storm, it says 40,000 less due to less professional services incurred for water quality monitoring samples performed. So it may or may not be you, but
I think that's what we do in tandem with environment. I think we contract out some services for the stormwater monitoring, and we do some in-house. And I think a decision was made to do more of those services in-house. But is somebody here from that could speak to that from environment? No, I don't think so. So
okay,
that's my understanding. Oh,
Okay, if
Trevor's
it's
here.
something-
Trevor, go ahead.
just let me
Sorry,
know.
I don't have the information, Councillor Hughes, unless Ms. Myers does, but might warrant a council inquiry. We can get some more information.
Okay. And let's assume it's done in-house, and if it's something different, then tell me. Okay, so if you just need to correct it, that way you don't do extra work for nothing. And if it is, it's all good. I'm just asking, just so I have clarity.
We actually have an answer, Councilor.
Do you?
Megan, go ahead.
Yeah, I can confirm that it's done in-house.
Okay, so that's just why it was less, because you did have a contract to do more next year, so the carry forwards or something like that. So you just wanted to have it.
It's just that we haven't paid for the contracts from this year yet, so it's just carry forward into the following year.
Got it. Okay. Also, I just want to give kudos that you got the recycling contract at a lower rate. So just wanted to acknowledge that. So hopefully we'll actually see our recycling rates go down, maybe for 2024 or something.
You're going to eliminate it.
Yeah, there you go. On the service place debt. So we have some of the debt that's that debt page, I don't know, give me a few heart palpitations. So some of this is disappearing in 2024 and the rest is disappearing in 2025. So should residents expect to have that line item removed from their taxes after that year? Because that's the $42 million question. So that's what we paid for it. So after the last budget, the last debt is gone, should we expect that line item to be removed?
That is correct. It would be.
Okay, just so people know that when they don't complain. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
I got one.
Okay.
I got one little thing, and just curiosity, the community and recreation services again, and the 700, I was actually surprised at the revenue loss since we gave up Starbucks, or lost the contract to Starbucks, or changed their contract to Starbucks. So it says there's 732,000 lower sales revenue due to Starbucks no longer being operated by the city. So did we recoup that in any way back in the contract we run with the operator or the existing franchise?
Well, there's also less expenses too,
Yeah, with that, yeah, I know, but I'm not saying do we recoup the entire 732,000, but is there something in relation to the way that the contract is with the franchisee that actually makes up for
like leasing space?
Maybe I'll start off and then I'll hand it over to Danielle. So when in the report, community and recreation services is community services and recreation parks. So it's both departments combined. So the statements that are in there are a summary of, but it's not everything inclusive of. So when you see, that the number around Starbucks, it's not just Starbucks. There's other items in there as well. But then with regard to Starbucks, there is a net positive on not operating it ourselves anymore. But Danielle, if you'd like to add any comment on that.
Certainly. When previously we operated Starbucks, we did operate it at a small revenue generation. Through the EY report, one of the suggestions was to look at other alternate means of providing that service. So we have found a vendor that takes on that obligation now, and they are providing that service on our behalf. And what that allows is that there is a loss of revenue, but there's a loss of expenditure that corresponds to that. So there is still a small revenue generation that we receive as a result of operating that service. However, we're able to take our staffing resources that we previously used to run the Starbucks, and now we're able to align them to draw more revenue to our advertising and sponsorship chain.
Yeah,
That's about a $40,000.
$40,000.
Yeah, there's less expenses, but also less revenue, and
Yeah.
it's more or less revenue than expenses of 40,000, but.
So when that's good to know, but I was just curious, then in relation to the way you write it up in your line items, then if there's more to it, then I mean, I guess for me, you say Starbucks and then that leads me to think it's just Starbucks, right? So it doesn't factor in all of the other things. So just something
It's pretty clear, 732.
Yeah, 732,000 due to Starbucks. And I thought, oh, okay, well, so if there's more in there, then it should be due to whatever those things are, in my opinion.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone online? You're good? Okay.
$35,000 higher in cemetery fees.
So I see no more questions. It's a motion, right?
Yeah, you want to do the motion, Ken?
I did the motion. I can do the motion. I can't read the motion, but I can do the motion.
Here is information.
Yeah, just read that. The attachment to the February 14th, 2022 agenda report entitled Corporate Quarterly Report, Quarter 4, 2022. Don't be like that, Sean. Be received as information.
Anything else?
No, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Hey, call for the vote. Yeah.
Everyone's saying,
Everyone's thumbs up. So Natalie and Wes are now waving and thumbs up, and poor Mike's the only one in favor. Okay, that's unanimous.
Don't spill your drink, Mike.
Surplus, what are we gonna do with it? Go ahead, Brenda.
Hi, yeah, that's $1 million question. What do we want to do with it, right? Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm here this afternoon to present the city's 2022 preliminary year-end financial position and to make a recommendation on distribution of the surplus. So throughout 2022, the city continued a fiscally responsible approach to its operations, which has put us in a strong financial position. So we are currently reporting, as you've heard, an estimated $2.3 million surplus, which is approximately a 1.2 variance from our 2022 approved budget of $185 million. So a detailed variance analysis was presented by Bill and is in the Q4 report, which you've just seen. So typically administration recommends transferring this surplus to the stabilization reserve. However, the balance in this reserve is currently at $9.7 million, which would be contrary to council policy to transfer the surplus funds here. So for this reason, administration is recommending transferring the surplus funds to the municipal land and facilities reserve. The balance in this reserve is currently at 1.9 million. And by adding this 2.3, it would bring it up to 4.2 million. There are also alternative recommendations in the report, or if there is another recommendation, we will take that as well. But I would ask that we do get a motion on this today so that we can finalize the surplus position for the year-end audit. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Go ahead, Ken.
Just a quick question in relation to last year we were struggling with the stabilization reserve. Like there was even fears that we were down, that we were going to
counting our pennies in the code.
Like literally be out of it. Now we're up to 9 million. Can you give me like a 30,000 foot level as to why all of a sudden there's that difference?
Yes, I know two components. We had quite a bit of pandemic and COVID relief funding that we had committed in the stabilization reserve, and we've actually uncommitted that. That was about a total of about 5.1 million that was uncommitted. And does that help you, or do you need a few more details?
No, I mean, I guess it helps me. That I'm just saying, I guess I mean, I know there was a little bit that we were gonna hold over for the transit. There was a little bit, but I mean, at the same time, we were really potentially raising all sorts of red flags that we were gonna be in serious trouble with the stabilization fund. Now it seems to be quite healthy. So I was just an observation when you threw the number out. So I mean, it is what it is. So I mean, I'm glad that it is at 9 million because we do tend to you spend it and utilize it. So anyways, thanks. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I have a question.
Councillor Broadhead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I appreciate the recommendation. My question is, and I've read what's in the report, but is there some looming land acquisition plan that would require this to go to the land, or is there not, and it's just going to be there in case something comes up?
It's in case something comes up.
Okay.
And, you know, in terms of, we can't speak specifics, but in case, like even this morning we spoke about if we wanted to purchase land at $340,000 an acre. There could be opportunities with adjacent properties for sale, et cetera. This just gives it that flexibility, but none of the recommendations are necessarily bad. It could go to capital reserve, it could go to 50-50 split. You know, this was just one of them that we did see that over the next couple of years, we could be in a position to move on some land acquisition.
Father Jan in consideration, there's a number of considerations. Father Jan is a potential. None of these are plans. They're just things that.
And we can obviously move money from the land reserve over to.
Yeah, you can. You can do any movement at any time, yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. Brenda.
Yep.
Remember the good old days when I was just on council? I always used to comb the budget and look at the operating business cases, and I would try to fund something that was just for that current year, not an ongoing operating business case out of the surplus. So I looked, and the only two that I could identify were the financial services and information technology IT business analyst purchasing audit for $108,400. And then I think we approved $10,000 for the Alberta 55 plus games. Those are two one-time expenses that are currently being funded through our taxes. Can I fund them through the surplus?
So I guess just my take on it is if you do that, it gets a bit muddy. Because our surplus right now is the 2.3, and if we start to reduce and portion it out to specific projects, you don't get a true picture of what the surplus is, right? My recommendation would be transfer the surplus and then bring forward that business case. Just my thought, but we can do whatever you'd recommend.
It just makes it. This gives council some sort of confidence that it's not going to be automatically $104,800 in next year's budget, right? Because it's one time, but it gets lost, those business cases. And so if you fund it like you did the transit stuff, instead of through taxes, did it through a stabilization. But yeah, I guess I could just make a separate motion to do that through stabilization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be better.
Cleaner.
Yeah, thank you.
That's why, you know, I've matured.
Go
ahead.
So how much do we have right now that's uncommitted in the capital reserve? Just for, we know how much is in the land. It's like 800 grand or something, right? What am I looking at? How much do we have uncommitted in capital?
Sorry, yeah, uncommitted in the capital is 1.4 million.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one's a little low as well.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm going to go 50-50. And if something comes up that we can always move it over, but the capital is pretty tight too.
I'll go 50-50.
I don't know how you feel, Natalie and Wes. I know that Wes, you're pacing, so you're ready to get out of here.
Well, Wes asked the question, so.
Yeah. How do you feel about a 50-50?
I think we have so many needs that, I mean, no matter what pot it goes into, it's.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, 50-50.
Just me. Okay.
Anything to get Wes out of Motel 6.
Yeah,
50-50 works for
you
me.
just don't like those curtains, Wes. Okay, I'll put forward the motion then if you want
Any
it.
more questions before we get to a motion? Seeing none, go ahead, Councillor Hughes.
Okay, so we will put forward the alternative two.
Yeah.
That we split the surplus funds of approximately 2.3 million equally between the municipal land and facilities reserve and the capital reserve. So that each reserve receives approximately 1.15 million. And I probably have to preface that with something else at the top, which is that the 2022 municipal operating surplus, estimate 2.2 million, be transferred equally with everything else I just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys get that?
Okay.
0.29?
3.3. And we're splitting it evenly.
$100,000 can go into.
No.
Do you want me to do? You do alternative two?
Alternative.
Yes, alternative two. Alternative two, Renee.
They already think they own a car wash. Everybody who's still listening 9 hours in, I do not own a car wash. Keep it on social media. They're like, she owns a car wash. I'm like, I do. I am missing some checks then because no one's given me money for a car wash. Yeah,
Sold my name.
I'm not kidding you. Yeah. I'm like, it's not me.
Well, if only Councillor Hanson owned the distillery.
Distillery, that's.
But no, people are like, oh, she owns this. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
No.
Hey, we're just getting Ledge to type this up, Mike and Natalie and Wes.
So close to the end. By the time we finish, Mike, the sun will be down where you are. But it'll still be warm.
It'll still be warm and the drinks will still be cold.
That's, everyone understands what that means, right, guys? From your point of view, it's all good over there? Okay, that's it. So moved.
Good.
Going to call for the vote, Kathy, or?
Just wait for me to get online. Got it? Okay.
It's up already.
Call for the vote.
Yes.
I'm not paid by the hour here.
Okay,
I am. Gosh.
that's unanimous. Yeah, okay.
Awesome.
And finally, the last agenda item of a very long day is capital or operating capital carry forwards. Suzanne's got this one.
Hi, thank you. Saving the best for last here.
Yeah.
So
There's a
good
lot of
afternoon.
motions here.
Yeah. So as part of our year-end process, in accordance with Council Policy CFS 11, operating and capital carry forwards and closed projects, any operational or capital project that has not been completed during its budgeted fiscal year shall be brought forward for consideration as part of administration's report on the proposed year-end transfers. Approval by council to carry these projects into 2023 ensures funding is available to complete the projects without impacting current tax or future year budgets. So in 2022, we had 157 municipal capital projects. Of these projects, 113 are being requested to be carried into 2023 with a budget of 235.7 million, which is a net decrease of 446.6 thousand. Included in this net decrease is an increase of 267,000 to the financial system software project. This project relates to the Human Resource Information Systems, or HRIS project, and the funds are required to complete the project and integrate the HRIS system with existing systems, which will result in process efficiencies and a reduction in data entry. 44 of the 157 municipal projects are being closed with a surplus of just over 1.046 million, which is recommended to be uncommitted to their respective funding sources and used for future council approved projects. Under utility, we have 55 utility projects, of which 46 are being requested to be carried into 2023 with a budget of 65.9 million. And 9 projects are being requested to be closed with a surplus of 1.1 million. As with the municipal projects, we are recommending that the surplus funds be uncommitted to their respective funding sources to be used for future council approved projects. So under operating carry forward projects, 8.3 million is being requested to be carried into 2023 to ensure commitments can be funded. Of the 8.3 million, 1.7 million is being carried forward from the 22 budget and 6.4 million from the prior year carry forwards. There is also included in that 99,000 related to utility carry forwards. A number of operating carry forward projects that were funded from reserves were also completed during the year. And in addition, administration felt that the funding that was committed in the stabilization reserve for the pandemic and future tax mitigation were no longer required. And as such, the residual balance of 5.851 million is recommended to be uncommitted in the respective reserves. So that concludes my short presentation, and we have staff available here to answer any questions on the projects that you might have. Thank you.
All right, questions on projects? You have lots?
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Some of them have been answered as you gave me one document, didn't have the reasons, the other one that did. So I'm trying to decrease the number of questions here. So on page 29, so it's the central shelves, 415505. And it started in 2015 and we're still sitting on it. So I'm just wondering, I understand it says it's not being done because of resources right now, but like we're pushing 8 years now on this. So my question is, do we still actually need it? Because it appears to be not very imminent.
So that would be mine.
Yeah.
We're carrying it forward just for this one last year because we don't think we're actually going to use it to buy new shelving. It's just the stuff that's right over the other side of this wall.
Sure. Yeah.
We're probably going to convert it into a digitization project, which is a far better way to go, right? And that's actually been in the work in process. It involves a large number of internal stakeholders and their records. So that's why it's been delayed. But that's what's going on with that one. So you won't see it again after this year. If it is, it'll be spent, but probably not on shelving, probably on a digitization process.
Perfect. The other one was, I'm still on page 29. I put everything in the same order. So it's 421419. Energy efficiency. The EV charging stations, I thought they had to be installed by a certain date or we don't get the money. And it says 331 is the budget, but 0 has been spent. So are we going to get them on time or how are we doing on that?
Go ahead, Megan, or Trevor, I'll defer to you and then you
No, I'll let Megan speak to this. Go ahead, Megan.
You're muted.
You're muted, Megan, somehow.
Doesn't look, no, it's not.
Or you're.
Maybe unplug your microphone? No.
So, well, I can start while we figure this out, but basically, we completed the engineering study. We're actually going to RFP for the work later this week. So, so that's the intent.
It has to be done by March or something, doesn't it? Or is it June? I can't remember what it is, which I know are two very different months.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, we requested an extension from MCCIC just because of it might take a little bit of time to have the EV charging stations delivered. So they've given us a little bit of leeway into June and into the summer.
Okay. Just want to make sure they're coming in. And then the under Public Works 422807. So that's the new facilities repair renewal. So we have in here for the 4.2, it's 1.1 million. We spent under the 4.7. So I'm anticipating that the rest of it's going to be used up this year to finish off those repairs, right? Are we going to have any carry forwards at all? Because this is Public Works 031 with a line item is how I'm interpreting it. So do we anticipate using all the funds that we have in that, or plus some or less some, or where are we at? Tim?
Through the chair to Councilor Hughes. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. So yes, this is fully allocated towards the remainder of the Fountain Park Pool project this year as well. We are fully allocated the funds and looking towards the engineering at St. Albert Place for the remainder of the funds in 2022.
Okay, and I think that's an upcoming budget item, so I won't ask about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So the lane reconstruction, from 418,411. So it's starting at 2018. And it's pretty low on the amount that we finished. So have we kind of given up on this plan, or I know
Again,
more coming out, like before it was coming in every year and then it kind of stopped, but how are we doing on it?
again, through the chair to Councillor Hughes, that particular program has been reinitiated last year. We've got a number of lanes that are under design right now, with construction starting this year on them. We've had meetings with various stakeholders, utilities that have impact. But yeah, that has been initiated, but the actual funding request had been halted so that we could exhaust previous year's funds.
Okay. And the noise attenuation, are we going to get a copy of the phase 2 report to council anytime? For 416, 418? Because they have the noise attenuation, sorry, I just assumed people were reading my mind. So 416, 418 is a noise attenuation study, and it says that phase 2 will be completed in 2023, will influence plan for 2024 spending. So will that be coming to council?
The report.
The report?
I think it becomes.
Go
You want me
ahead.
to
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, the phase 2 report is intended to be completed. I'm not sure if it's coming back to council, but that's something that we can look into.
Sure. I don't think phase 1, I don't remember coming to council, and I know there are some people who are affected by noise who are very interested in the results. So that might be, if it came in like
But we'll slot it.
yeah, something, yeah. Annexation, are we for 421, 430? I can't remember if, are we still doing an annexation? We're not doing annexation, because I think that's going to carry forward.
Adrian.
So are we still doing annexation, Adrian? I thought we stopped.
Yes, you are correct, Councillor Hughes. We did stop the annexation. However, the reason that this is being requested is as part of the annexation negotiations or discussion with Edmonton, we had identified some need to discuss extension of Leclerc into Edmonton, and this was identified as dollars that could be used to facilitate some of the studies needed to continue those discussions, even though the annexation discussion has now been canceled. So,
Okay, so we still have a reason for that money, and that's why we're still using it.
yes.
I have a couple of things left, guys, so you're all doing great. So under utilities, so the recycle yard upgrades, one of the things they have 419,761 was to put in a CCTV, a closed caption television. I think the part of that might be just for security, but that was from 419, and it didn't really have an idea of the status. It just said what you're planning to do with it. So I'm just wondering, do we have an idea? Are we actually planning to do it, or why is there a delay?
Go ahead, Regan.
So I think I'll defer to Louise on that one. Louise, are you on?
Maybe.
Information request.
Actually, Doug Moore should be able to answer that.
Oh, okay.
You're on.
Doug, you're on mute.
Thank you. Through to the chair, I believe the CCTV cameras have been installed. We're just waiting for invoicing to come in.
Okay, so that's off the books. It's awesome. So we have couple, the water network level of service, and then we have the storm infrastructure rehab, and it's like 420,751 and then 421,751, and one of them hasn't yet started. So I'm wondering, I don't remember what's going on in the budget right now, but the only concern I have is, have we stopped? I feel like we have in that one area, a little bit of a backlog, so to speak. No pun intended for you, Ken, but a little bit of a backlog. And so are we going to do a catch up, or are we still putting them on the books for the future years to have it done right now type of thing?
So through the chair to Councillor Hughes, you might have noticed in the budget for this year, we didn't have this capital item, so we have assigned projects to these previous years' project budgets, and so those are assigned, and those are continuing to move forward. Having said that, we had identified that all of the all the upgrades and replacements that we needed to do were fully allocated within these previous year's budget. So we didn't have any new coming forward on the stormwater side for this year. Water is a little bit of a different story. I think we do have some water projects that are continuing to move forward as well. So yes,
Okay.
and as everyone's aware, we've got a bit of a backlog in utilities. We had some resourcing issues a few years ago that we're still working through.
Okay, just so, I'm almost done. I'm at the very bottom of the second page and I only have 2 pages. So, number 420-413, Bridge Rehabilitation Program. And it says we're rehabilitating Perrin Street Bridge and I'm out of the loop. What are we doing? Donnie. Hey, Donnie.
I can take that, start that, but I will have Faisal to respond to the actual details of the project repairs. Maybe Faisal can come online.
Yeah, I'm here, Don.
He's there.
There you go.
So Donnie, would you like me to respond?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Through the chair, it's the north head slope and the retaining and the SUP underneath that we're replacing. So it's been settling due to soil conditions. That's been a planned upgrade for, it was supposed to happen in 2022, but we'll be pushing it to this spring of 23.
So will the entire, that side be completely out of commission this summer then for the bulk of it? Or is it going to be a fairly simple?
No, it's not simple, but we're looking at not more than about 8 weeks.
Okay, great.
That's optimistic, but it would be a confined construction, so.
Okay.
Exciting for that one for us.
Okay, just so people know, I would be surprised when they'd ask me and I'd be like, I don't know. So transit 422-350, it says that we were waiting on it because of the Transit Commission. And so my question is, because it said we're waiting to 2025 because of the Transit Commission, which makes sense. But in light of the new information, is there an intention to move that, acting on that business case sooner? Because it's a year 22 budget. So I'm just asking, what is the intention?
What number is that?
422-350. So I'm just wondering if we're going to, because we identified needs to replace it in 2022, and now we're in 2023, things have changed. Are we still delaying it, or are we going to be enacting, purchasing whatever we need to buy?
Regan or Will?
Through the chair, I can answer that question. What we're doing is we're still challenged by the 2-year, the industry being 2-year lead time for equipment and vehicles. So that's a challenge on its own. All the projects that we have, we have 11 capital projects, and we're estimating about six closing by the end of 2023, if that helps you.
So with that one for the one that we approved in 422-350, I guess, is that included in what you're pre-ordering, or do you need to order more? Regardless the depth of the timeframe of when you're doing it, it just says we're waiting till 2025. So I'm just wondering, are you going to start doing something now?
No, we're ahead of the game on this. It takes a lot of times. It's taken us 2 years to get on this, Councillor, and it's in the works for sure. We estimate closure of that at the end of 2024.
Okay, and I have one question left. So the safety, let's see, page 57, we have a HR safety, and we have all these uncommitted to safety reserve, which is fine. But I'm trying to remember, we had a business case about the safety reserve to do as an annual budgeted item. But now we're going to have $314,000 now in that reserve. So I guess I'm asking Ryan, does that change anything?
Through the chair to Councillor Hughes, what happened is we had a whole bunch of projects on the books that we were basically able to close out. Either they were advanced but never implemented, or were eventually folded. My understanding is that the reserve is always 150,000, and for our plans for 2023, we expect, and what we envision coming to us already, we expect to exceed that already in 2023. So for the mental health initiative. So I just want to highlight that there was some of these items closing out was actually a culmination of years where we're actually closing them all out in this year. So I just want to draw that attention.
So I feel like those projects, we have reevaluated them and now we're just refocusing them on something else, but the need for the business case stays.
I would say yes.
Okay, that's it for questions. Thank you.
Any more questions? Seeing none? Just looking at the closed projects. Just, it's page 52. So essentially, we came in under budget overall for the combined projects.
Yes.
Yeah, just like to point that out because we always get criticized that we're way over budget and not sure we'll be able to say that every year going forward with inflation and stuff. But I think it's good to see. And it's, you guys do a great job of budgeting in and coming close to that budget number, predicting what it's going to cost for these capital projects. So I thought that was good news. Councillor Hughes, you want to make the motion?
Sure. Oh.
As moved, as moved, as moved.
To say. Can I just say before I say the motion that when I reviewed all these documents, and I know people sometimes make it think no one read it, I read every single line last night. And I was just really impressed at the dedication of our staff to continue to get these things done, both in the carry forwards and in the close. Like there's a lot of stuff that the city does. There's so many moving parts. And I just want to acknowledge that, because this is kind of like unsung heroes in many ways, because on top of just operations, there were so many things to be done.
Move the motion first.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that. Okay, the 2022 municipal carry forwards, the amount of 235.7 million, which includes a 446.6 thousand net budget decrease, as detailed in the document entitled Municipal Capital Projects Carry Forward be approved. At the residual balances remaining in the 2022 municipal capital closed projects in the amount of 1.0 million, as detailed in the document titled Municipal Capital Projects Closed, be uncommitted within the respective funding sources. At the 2022 utility capital carry forward amount of 65.9 million, as detailed in the document titled Utility Capital Projects Carry Forward, be approved. At the residual balances remaining in the 2022 utility capital completed projects in the amount of 1.1 million, as detailed in the document entitled Utility Capital Projects Closed, be uncommitted within the respective funding sources. At the 2022 municipal utility operating carry forward amount of 8.3 million, as detailed in the document entitled Operating Carry Forwards, be approved, and that the reserve balances be updated to reflect the realized net savings from completed municipal and utility operating projects, as detailed in the document entitled Completed Operating Projects with Residual Balance.
Awesome. Right now you can.
Okay, now again, it was impressive to see how much has been done and how much we've continued to do in spite of many big barriers in the past few years. And the dedication of our staff to accomplish that. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. And also whoever wrote this report, there's so many details in this, just to do the motion and get those numbers right. So I want to acknowledge everybody who put this forward, because this budget's generally an entire group event. That's it. Thank you.
I got nothing. Nothing. How about the vote?
Yeah.
She sent a text she had to leave.
Yeah, Councillor Killick.
I don't know why she wanted to.
In favor, and Wes, you're good?
I'm trying here.
Just say yes.
Yes. I didn't want to pass it on here.
And Councillor Jolie had to leave before this agenda topic. She had to pick up kids. So we're adjourned.
You're adjourned. I got a committee in this room in 5 minutes.